From a messy exit from San Francisco to not being able to find a decent landing spot, things aren't looking so good for Jimmy Garoppolo. But why exactly does no team want to take him? There's no other way to put it, but Garoppolo has never been and probably will never be an elite fantasy quarterback. One thing about him though, he's a good starter in the right spots though. He also has amazing stats, considering he's averaged between 15.3 and 16.0 fantasy points per game every single year.
This is the counter to what everybody thinks is going to happen to him. You think the guy's going to go off to the...
For him, from the 23, Garoppolo sets up the screen. McCaffrey sifting through.
Minus the 6-game 2020, of course. Just because his stats aren't good doesn't mean that everyone wants him, though. There are no better quarterbacks in the league than Garoppolo. There aren't even 22 of them. Garoppolo starting a few games definitely increases his value in Superflex leagues. But when it comes to the single quarterback leagues, Garoppolo simply cannot be your or anyone's ideal starting quarterback. He can be an excellent backup if your starting quarterback is injured. Garoppolo can step in and keep your matchups.
There's not a certain order of what comes together faster than whatever. I think it's all coming together slowly.
Times in the first half off the fake to Breida. Garoppolo throws, it is caught and taken.
But that doesn't mean he will win the games for your team too. You see, while Jimmy G can show up when needed, he also has more than a few problems. This is also probably why he hasn't been signed with anyone yet.
The whole game, which it seemed like a soccer game at some points, just the passion that they brought and everything like that. It was. It's tough mentally to accept that because you put so much work in the offseason, you go through training camp, and then it's all taken away.
For now, let's get into the main concern the teams and organizations have with Garoppolo. He's only played in ideal circumstances. Jimmy G is always stepping up when everything is said and done. All he has to do is get on the field and play, and he'll get the credit. I'll give you a few examples too. If you're an OG Garoppolo fan, you remember his first game in New England. Starting your career backing up Tom Brady, aka the GOAT, is pretty much everyone's dream. But here's the problem with it. You don't get room for growth.
Slant, Gronk. 3, 2, 1, Gronk.
First and 10 for Garoppolo, his second time with the ball to White.
Sure, Jimmy had a lot of time to observe Brady up close and learn the game from the pro.
Just in time, Jarvis Jones got close.
And there's Gronkowski.
The play fake by Brady, throw down the middle. Gronk is open to the 15, angling left to the 10.
But now, over 5 years into his career, it just looks like Garoppolo was handed everything on a silver platter. He did earn Tom Brady's respect though, considering that Brady talked about how he's going to miss his teammate once he got traded to the 49ers in 2017. Still, that wasn't enough to elevate his game though. When Jimmy left the New England Patriots and joined the San Francisco 49ers, he didn't have a lot of on-field experience. And unfortunately for him, he didn't have the best luck playing for the 49ers either. It was either an injury or another unfortunate event that kept him from performing the way that he should have. Lucky for him, the 49ers are an offensive team, which happens to be very QB friendly, and that saved him from looking like he wasn't doing enough.
They're very talented. It's really the whole front. I mean, not just those two, but they're.
Quarterback sneak. Jimmy Garoppolo puts it away.
Now, let's look at why the 2022 season was supposed to be so important for Jimmy G, and also why he screwed up his chances for good landing spots. Garoppolo really needed to do well in the game against Denver 5 months ago. As Jeremy Wolfart said, his whole season was supposed to be an audition tape for teams looking for a quarterback in 2023, and he didn't exactly light up the NFL world. Of course, this doesn't mean that Garoppolo was a nightmare or some absolute horrible quarterback, because he had a few great moments too. In the game against the Denver Broncos, he made some good throws, finishing 18 of 29 for 211 yards and a touchdown too. Of course, it wouldn't be fair not to mention the interception that was tipped into the air.
I don't know. The run game got going a little bit. You could feel the wind was just getting out of their defense. Get a little score before halftime. The momentum was with us. And I think that's when our team as a whole.
Let's not talk about how that wasn't exactly the best throw. The point is, Jimmy Garoppolo just wasn't up to the mark, and those few good moments could not be enough to redeem the mistakes of the past few seasons. This isn't the first time that we saw Jimmy Garoppolo lacking though. He has his weaknesses, like the fact that he's not very mobile, lacks arm strength, and has inconsistent accuracy across the field. Again, this doesn't mean he's the worst quarterback in the world. He still managed to keep the Niners afloat for a long time despite these. If any other team signs him, all these things he can work work on all together and improve. But there's another huge red flag that Jimmy Garoppolo has, and it's probably shooing teams away. This is the fact that Jimmy G never seems to take accountability. In 2021, during a press conference, the quarterback was asked about the kind of criticism he gets for not pushing the ball downfield enough. Instead of talking about what he did wrong, Garoppolo said that he was just following the plan that he'd been given, as if quarterbacks aren't allowed to make their own decisions or anything. Football is one of those team sports that rely heavily on just one person, in this case, the quarterback. When your quarterback is seemingly incapable of making huge decisions or independent plays, it's definitely not a good sign. No team wants that for themselves. Plus, when you think about his shot plays and 10-plus yard routes available in the game against the Packers, Garoppolo's response was interesting, to say the least. Twitter users were quick to pounce on Garoppolo, tweeting videos of the all-22 view against the Packers, where Garoppolo completely missed Deebo Samuel on a dagger route deep across the middle. In the video, it's clear that Samuel is very irritated by Garoppolo not even glancing towards him. From that press conference, though, it was clear that Jimmy G was throwing Coach Kyle Shanahan under the bus. This brings me to my next point. He's not the most friendly QB. He and Kyle Shanahan definitely do not like each other, which is a less than ideal situation for any team. In fact, Garoppolo said that Shanahan was a huge reason that he left. As you probably know already, there were a lot of rumors about potential teams that Garoppolo would be traded to. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers were one of these teams. It looked like the ideal situation with Tom Brady's retirement and whatnot. Plus, Brady seems to love Garoppolo, so he'd probably prefer someone he knows to take his place as QB. It looked like a pretty solid option until Don Yee, Garoppolo's agent, shut down that rumor right away. As if that wasn't enough, Rick Stroud of the Tampa Bay Times quoted a Bucs coaching staff member as saying that if Jimmy G could throw a deep ball, he would have already won 2 Super Bowls. Ouch, that definitely hurt for the former 49ers quarterback. While this could be a smoke and mirrors campaign, right now it looks like Tampa Bay is not interested in trading for Jimmy G at any point. But wait, because the Bucs weren't the only team rumored to be a landing spot for Garoppolo. Rumor had it Jimmy was heading to the Washington Commanders. A little unexpected, I know. According to ESPN's Adam Schefter, the Commanders were very close to finally acquiring Jimmy Garoppolo from the San Francisco 49ers. And that too, right before the quarterback's off-season surgery. In fact, everyone was so sure this trade would finally happen, especially because both parties had even decided on a trade agreement that included multiple draft picks. Unfortunately, it fell through, and Washington considered another option.
I wouldn't say I'm that. No, I'm not there yet. George is more of the Swiftie.
And went for Carson Wentz, while Garoppolo remained with the 49ers on a restructured contract as the team's backup. After Trey Lance suffered a season-ending ankle injury, he will now be San Francisco's starter going forward. It looks like bad luck follows Jimmy Garoppolo everywhere he goes. Just as things were getting close and he was figuring out a landing spot, things went downhill. He does have a lot of things to work on though, so it makes sense why teams don't want him on their side. That's all I have today for all the reasons NFL teams don't want Jimmy Garoppolo.
Those hands, and he's hard to get to the ground. Use check in motion. Garoppolo